Hello and Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video I'm sewing myself a midi shift dress using some tweed fabric. I'm going to be applying some black lace around the neckline just to break up the flat grey colour around the fabric. And I've also got some buttons which I might use. For the sleeves I've decided not to make them in the tweed fabric. I've gone for a thin linen fabric, only because I don't like the bulkiness of the tweed around my arms and shoulders. But if you decide to use the tweed for your sleeves, then the steps are exactly the same as I'll be doing on the linen fabric for the sleeves. As you know, there are two ways to cut the dress. Firstly, if you have a pattern already made, you can fold the fabric once and then place your pattern just like this with the two folds together. If you don't have a pattern and you know your body measurements, then you can just follow me and cut out this dress freehand. If you're using a pattern, you've just got to make sure that you've got plenty of fabric underneath the pattern so you can extend to the length desired. And if you're interested in making a pattern for yourself, then I do have a video based on this pattern on my channel, which I will link in the description box for you. So because the width of this fabric was 60 inches, I bought just over a metre of this tweed fabric. I've folded the material twice, so I've got 4 layers, and I'm just straightening off the edges which are a bit rough. So making sure you've got enough width after folding, I'm going to start marking from the top with the shoulder measurements, the neck and the armhole measurements. These measurements are for a size 16 to 18 in the UK. You can follow the same steps by using your own measurements. Once I've done the neck and the armhole, I'm doing the 1 inch shoulder slope, which is 1 inch down from the armhole, and we're just joining the line for the shoulder slope. And now I'm placing the measuring tape along the length of the fabric to mark the bust, the waist and the hip points. So I'm going to mark out now the bust, the waist and the hip measurements according to my measurements. Also marking the length I require. At the moment I'm keeping it at 40 inches for now. Before I start sewing the hemline, I'm going to try on and see if it looks okay, or if I decide to make it shorter, I'll just cut a few inches off the bottom. And now it's time to cut out all the markings that you've made. And here we're cutting the back and the front together. So I'm separating the back because all the back markings and the cuttings are done. And for the front we're going to do a few adjustments. So I'm going to take out 1 layer, and that is your back markings all done and cut. And for the front we're just going to do a bit of adjustments on the neckline and on the armhole. On the armhole, finding the midpoint of this line that we made, and I'm marking 1 inch on the inside and then joining it to the top shoulder line and taking it all the way around towards the bust line. And on the neckline, all I'm doing is deepening it to about 8 inches. I'm leaving the width as it is. I'm just deepening it and making a round shape for the front neckline. So that's all your markings done on the tweed fabric, and now we're going to move on to the black linen fabric to mark the sleeves. And this fabric was also 60 inches wide, and the length I needed was about 24 inches, so I've got a bit of extra here. After making sure that I've got enough width and length of fabric in 4 layers, I'm going to cut off the rest of the fabric that I don't need. Now we're marking the sleeve measurements. So from the bottom left hand corner I'm marking 4 inches in, and the top left hand corner I'm marking 4 inches down. And then marking the length, I've kept a little bit extra because I might put an elastic at the end of the sleeve, and I've kept the width a bit extra as well. And just put a few gathers in the front and maybe on the shoulder line as well. Taking 2 layers of the sleeve, I'm finding the midpoint and marking about ½ an inch inwards just for the shape for the front side of the sleeve, because it's always a bit deeper than the back side of the sleeve. And then just making a notch so I know which are the front sides of the sleeve when I'm sewing. And the last thing that you need to cut out is just a bit of binding to go around the neckline. So I folded the material because I need bias binding, and I've marked ½ an inch, and then when I cut that it'll open up to 1 inch binding. So that's one way you can cut it, by folding the material. And then I need another piece of binding for the back neckline. So here I've just taken the spare material and marked an inch and cut out more binding for the back neckline. And that's it guys, all the cutting is done. You should have the binding, the sleeves, the 2 front and back panels, the lace and buttons that you need, and be ready for next week's video, where I sew all these pieces together and create a lovely dress for the winter. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this tutorial, please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more.